Hello everyone, it's day 54 here at the Academy of Natural Living, 100% raw vegan, and it's the Christmas season, New Year as well. So I'd just like to say Merry Christmas to any of you who may be watching this, and a Happy New Year for the coming New Year. We've already gone into the new age, but New Year coming up. And what I wanted to talk about was a bit more on the emotional challenges that we face, and even that I especially have been facing over this time of the year, because being the festive season, it's generally a time of being with family and having a good time, but indulging in a lot of the foods and the drinks that we'd ordinarily indulge in. And this is a very emotional time for us. Not only the interaction, but especially the way we eat and the way we drink. So, that's not without its challenges. And for me, Christmas Day, I'm here on the farm, so my family is in another part of the country. But here were the people on the farm, and we went over to John Fielder's son's house, who lives here on the 300-acre property, but in a different area. And we ran around there, and John and I, we took our own fruit. We took watermelon and bananas and pomelo. And there at the house was other fruits as well. So there was oranges, and there was red dragon fruit. It was awesome red dragon fruit, just like a sorbet jelly, almost like a sweet sorbet jelly. And of course, along with the fruits, there was the traditional roasts. There was a roast chicken, there was roast lamb on the bone, there was roast root vegetables and onion and corn, fresh cooked corn on the cob with butter. So all those foods were on the table. Now, being here doing what I'm doing, this experiment with regeneration, I knew what those challenges would be, and I knew what I'd be in for. So it wasn't hard for me to make the decision, obviously, to stay raw. I mean, this doesn't enter into the equation. I've got to stay raw, I'm going to stay raw because that's what I'm doing here, and it defeats the purpose. But it doesn't mean there was a part of me that didn't arise, that wanted to indulge in those foods from my past. Especially being on a little bit of a low-calorie diet, sometimes feeling a little bit hungry. And at a minimum weight now, at least I seem to be, around 57 kilos. I would have loved to tuck into some of those foods. I'm a meat eater in the past, so, it would have been awesome. But, so I feel that stuff. And I just want to bring to the awareness that, when we feel that stuff, we smell those foods and we see it all, and there's laughter and gossip, and, and you just want to be a part of it. But why can't we be a part of that and eat good, clean, healthy, whole, ripe, raw, organic, natural foods? I still was a part of it. We played board games after, but there's still the emotional pull there. The emotions rise up, and you feel them. They're like these trigger this cascades of sensations through the body, and the sensations are what is addictive, and you want to indulge in those sensations and perpetuate those sensations and create more sensations. And it's those sensations. And if you look at the teachings of the Buddha, or investigate the teachings of the Buddha, he said that all our cravings and addictions arise from the addictions and the cravings for sensations. And all emotional responses in the body have sensations attached to them. So yes, it is a challenging time. And I think about all the times, that I would be going out, and having nice meals, and will I ever go out and have a nice meal again? Will I ever eat flesh food again? Roast lamb or seafood was actually one of my favourites. Will I ever have that again? The emotional thing of going out with your partner and going out with friends and having those types of things, and you're thinking, will I ever do that again? Sure, and it's just, there's just something about it, that's so transfixing and so captivating, and But you have to ask yourself, what, where, who you are, and where you're going, and what it's all about for you, and what your goals are. And I suppose for me, when I'm faltering and I'm starting to feel like, am I doing the right thing? Can I really go on? Do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? I just have to remind myself about what type of world I want to live in, and what I want to see take place in this world. And I think we all have the opportunity and the ability to create a legacy. A lot of people think of legacies in terms of massive businesses or corporations or millions of dollars, or leaving building a theatre or something, or a playground for that type of legacy. But we all have the ability to create a legacy you know in our own bodies and with our own bodies, and with the genetic lines that we build and that we can pass on to our children and their children and grandchildren and so on, by regenerating the body and living according to the laws of nature and on a more natural whole foods diet, and allowing the body to naturalize, and by eating the diet that we're physiologically designed for, regenerating our DNA and our cellular structure, and activating our organic systems to the maximum potential that they're capable of being activated to, because right now they're not. And the amount of regeneration, the amazing capabilities that you'll see emerge in human society and in the human frame, and in our mental capabilities, and in our spiritual awarenesses. So it's, that's the type of legacy that we can be leaving, and that is a thing that always pulls me on track and reminds me about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. All you have to do is open up the newspaper or watch the news to see, in what a state the world is today. And I think, well, the world needs truth. The world needs to grow and evolve, and I can be a part of that, and I can do that simply by being or living a certain way and voting with my dollar. And and if enough people did that, if everyone did that, the whole world would be a fundamentally different place. So that is what keeps me going in the times when it gets hard. And I have had enough practice doing this now. I've been on this journey since discovering raw food for 10 years, but I haven't been 100% raw, and haven't been 100% vegan either. I've gone in and out of raw and cooked, and I've gone in and out of vegan and vegetarian, and then back to meat eating again, and I've gone through all these different phases, and they've all generally been emotional phases in my life, as I've had different struggles and different trials, and moved in and out of different types of employment, which were challenging in different ways, some of which I'll share later when I share a bit more about my story. But when you want to do this and you want to make it a lifestyle change, you've really got to just take it day by day, and in fact meal by meal. And you're going to do your head in if you're thinking, oh, am I ever going to get to have my favourite meal again? Am I ever going to do that? And it's like, don't even think about not having your favourite meal again. Just think about what it is you're doing and what it is you want to achieve. So for me, 100% raw, my next meal is going to be a raw meal, and I'm going to focus on getting to that next meal, and I'm going to stay raw. And if it's vegan you want to do, then you say, well, for the next meal I'm going to be vegan. I'm going to be vegan for the next meal, and then you focus on the next meal after that once you get there. So just break it down into simple chunks, and don't think about the years or the how much time or what ifs, because as your body naturalizes and your taste buds naturalize and your senses naturalize and all these things naturalize, you're going to find yourself actually wanting those foods less and less. And it's the smell of the food that generally gets you, because the smell of the food is generally better than your experience of it, especially once you've allowed the body to do some cleansing. So yeah, challenging Christmas and New Year especially, very emotional times. But if you prepare yourself psychologically for what you're going to run into, and you make sure that you have enough food to eat, plenty of good food, and you take your food with you, it should be a day that you get through. We have to learn to recognize, though, the movement of those emotions within us. and the movement of that energy, and then the tug of those sensations. And if we can recognize that, then we're not going to be pulled into and held, by those addictions, and we'll just move through the day, and they won't even affect us. So, yeah, Merry Christmas again, and Happy New Year, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.